Hello. How are we doing? It's a Tuesday. Bit odd streaming once again on a Tuesday. But if you don't know, I have been in London all goddamn weekend. So I've been unable to do the Anarchy analysis matchup for this weekend. It's been a bit of a nice one. A change of pace. And today we're kicking it off with Fnatic and Excel as our big series to break down. Now, if you know me, I usually watch these. Spoiler alert, this entire series I am going in very much so blind. And so what we're going to see, very, very new to me. And if you know how I like to do these, I usually like to have a little bit of insight into the series. This time, it's completely blind. Now, one thing I should point out right now is I'm in a bit of a iffy setup right now. It's a bit more temporary with how things are. And it'll probably be this way for a good couple of weeks. 3 or 4 weeks. Essentially, my room is being redecorated. I've been redecorating the bits that you can't see over there or in front of me and over there. It's a bit more to my sort of style, to reflect a bit more of, surprisingly, the LEC. Obviously, this chair, it's the European LEC chair, basically, and it has the squiggles. You probably expect to see them up around there in the distant future. But, yeah, I'm in a content mood after a very nice break away from online spaces, because I went to see All Out at Wembley. That was pretty fun. Great event overall. I mean, if you look at Twitter now, or X as it's called, it's filled with people hating on a specific wrestler for his toxic actions, or his appearance to everyone is a toxic space or whatever. I try and think of the word there. He appears very toxic, but hey, who knows? Regardless of that, we've got 5 games to break down tonight. I'm really looking forward to it, and I'm just gonna get us straight into game number 1. Hello, we switched over to this view. Simply put, I'm also gonna move my head over here, and we'll move my webcam over so that I'm more central. There we go. So I'm gonna be a bit more weird with my not predictions. We already know the result, but I'm gonna be a bit more critical, I think, in this series than what I have been. Obviously, I know some of the backstory behind some of the games here, in a sense of players coming into this prospectively, and I'm also noticing that is really poor quality. Let's up it. There we go. So, draft-wise, Renekton, LeBlanc, Poppy removed on Excel's side of things. Fnatic gonna remove the Rumble and the Maokai. That does mean Kaiser is up and available. Obviously, Poppy being banned. Xayah, I think, will take a bit more priority as well. Rakan also is a big priority pick right now. Could see him coming through quite easily. On Excel's side, they're actually going to probably get a very strong bot lane. Now, me being me, I would say that the smart option here for Fnatic is lock in the Kaiser, so you could technically flex it, and the Ivan are paired alongside it. Ivan obviously has seen a lot of play during this year in terms of, well, I say this year, this split, if you call it a split. It's season finals, never mind. Basically, through summer and season finals, he's seen a lot of priority as a pick, and actually, I like that Fnatic combo a little more than a Kaiser. Rel, I mean, actually, no, do I? Let's look at it this way. Rel is a good first pick blind because it guarantees you a flex pick. You can flex it jungle, you can flex it support. And I think that would have benefited, I think, Excel a bit more here as a first pick over Desire, because you can probably get her down the road. Obviously, you could also pair the Rel with a Kaiser, as I've been saying, or Kalista. Something I think Patrick can play quite well. Draven's also an option. I think the first pick here for Excel can be considered a very weak draft overall to start off. But the response from Excel after the Rel and the Ivan come through, Sedge and then Talia. Sedge has seen quite a bit of play. She gets locked into Ivan purely because she's just bulk and can frontline against Daisy and not allow it to get to the backside. You've also got a lot more peel and frontline options with a Sedge over, say, a Wukong. I mean, that's not in the meta anymore, but Lee Sin, something Peach has gone towards as well. Lee Sin could have been an option here, but you really, I don't think locking in jungle second rotation here is terrible. I, though, however, thought, in theory, Excel could have dropped it to 4-5. They probably would have seen Sedge banned. Actually, maybe not. If they didn't ban pick up Rakan like they are here, you could have dropped Sedge to 4-5, had probably Rakan banned out by Fnatic. Or, yeah, no, because they can't pick it themselves. Yeah, it'd probably get banned by Fnatic, so Sedge would be higher priority. You could then, if she gets banned, pick Lee Sin. You would have then had a bit more info on the enemy team, because right now, you just have an Ivan and a Rel showing. There's not really any juicy targets, I guess, to kick to your team to insect them. So that's just my point of view. The Talia coming through, it's a pick that has only just been played over this weekend. I saw glimpses of the BDS series, and it got played to not much success on Certus's behalf. Probably it didn't help that he got first blooded on the pick in literally the first game in about 3 minutes. But like, it's still a weird one to me because I'm not a big fan of the pick so far from what we've seen in the league. But hey, maybe Excel can show me some more hope for this champion. Also, I don't think it pairs too well with the team so far. Like, if Maokai was still up and available, or the Rumble, I could see this Talia having a lot more effectiveness in terms of having a control the area sort of skill, pair it up with something to follow it up with, like an equalizer, to just burn them down before they can get out. It would be slightly more beneficial, I think, to Excel if they had something like that. But we'll have to see what Odo goes for, because, I mean, Kennen, while not the highest of priorities here, still is an option that Excel could kind of afford to play with for Odo to get a winning lane. Even Nah is a good option with that Talia. Anyway, let's continue forward with the draft because we haven't actually seen much since these 3 picks. Fnatic, it's humanoid. He's going to go towards his Jace. He's been very good on this pick all year. He's actually found a lot of success, I would say, in terms of his ability to get picks, as well as just all-round high amounts of damage. It's one of them champions that has kind of stuck in this meta all year, and is very, very strong in that regard. Now, second rotation of bans coming through. What can we see banned out from Excel? Because right now, I'm not liking their draft compared to what Fnatic have. You've got a lot of just outright engage with the Ivan and the Rel combining together. You've also got Poke on Excel's side. I think if I'm Excel, I'd ban the Kaiser. Solely because she's such a wriggly champion that she can get out of situations that Talia forces. Same with what Sedge forces. And overall, she just clears waves stupidly easy. Plus, with how Fnatic have drafted so far, if you look at everything, a Kaiser would fit in quite well because it gives you that AP that's missing right now with the fact that Jace gets locked in. You look at the rest of the map, you've got support in the jungle and in the bot lane. You're probably going to have a tankier frontliner for Oscarin because Odo just has demolished nearly every matchup he's been in. I think you definitely should see a ban towards the Kaiser if you're XL. As for Fnatic, I definitely target the support pool. You remove a huge counter with that Alistar because he just knocks back the Rel as she engages in. It's such a brutal combo that you can actually put down. I like the ban overall from Fnatic. Plus, also, it would deny the Jace trying to get in as well. I actually think that Fnatic have done a very good ban here. And I'd probably expect their second ban to be thrown maybe top, maybe nah, maybe a cannon ban overall. I mean, they're not typically top picks in terms of meta, but they're still probably very powerful towards this comp. But yeah, we'll have to see. We could, in theory, also see a Rakan ban just to complete the Lovers duo in the draft. Now, Ornn going to be removed from Excel. They clearly expect Oscarin to go for a tankier top side, and I think that would be smart, considering you probably want to get some sort of frontline to go alongside the Rel and protect the Ivan and the Jace. I think that's probably the most beneficial way for Excel to play, and obviously, I guess this is time we rip the band-aid off and say Oscarin played this series with a very bad hand. It had to go get surgery on it this week, and obviously that's a huge thing because he was playing in a detrimental state in this series. Now, Fnatic are going to remove the Rakan, so they're heavily targeting out Limit's pool. And champion-wise, I don't think there's too many good options. I don't like the Aphelios ban. That doesn't work. I'm presuming it's because Noah's top 3 picks don't really revolve around that champion. Forgive me, I am actually checking GOL for Noah's stats on this champion. I just want to look at all from season 13. He's got a really poor win rate on it this year. I'm going to pull this in front. Hi. This is his win rate on different champions. Zaya's been taken away, so they're not worried about that. Aphelios is his second most played champ, and he's got quite a high sort of win rate on it, so it makes sense to ban it. His Kaiser obviously his 4th most played, low win rate. So I get why Excel have done this, but in my opinion, Aphelios wouldn't have fit into Fnatic's draft, so the Kaiser was just an easy option, in my opinion, for them to lock in. Excel's side of things, you gotta kind of show your hand here. Odo needs some form of... So Odo needed some sort of front line. I see a combination there with All In, or All Out, sorry. I'm stuck with All In my head after being in it, but essentially the combo is you Cassante with the Talia wall in place. Does that work? What I am noticing though is it's a very low damage XL comp, all things considered. I honestly would have thought you'd go for a bit more of a wombo with the Talia. But hey, it's their comp. Maybe they win, maybe they don't, who knows. Fnatic, they need to round out their draft with their top lane response. What do you respond into Cassante with? Jax, maybe? I mean, yeah, that would make the most sense for Oscarinin. It's in his pool. Jax, Sion technically would be an option. I mean, if you want to go frontline to protect, I think that would be the better of the options. Malphite also is a good option, actually. If you think about it, Malphite's probably one of the better engage options here. Because A, he's AP. That's something the Fnatic draft is heavily lacking. B, you have a wombo combo with the Rel. And C, I think that Excel are regretting the Poppy ban. Purely because if this gets locked in... Okay, never mind. Screw the Malphite. We don't need to talk about it. I still would have preferred Excel not banning the Poppy and them having it as an option to pick. That would have been actually useful. But clearly they don't want to see tanks in the top lane from Fnatic. Oh well. Let's take a brief look at how the drafts want to play. So, from my perspective, Excel kind of want to play a bit of poke with the Talia, but they also want to fight with the Nautilus and the Sedge and Cassante frontlining. It's a very sort of semi-hard committal draft. But I do think that what Fnatic have with the Kaiser and then the Jace paired alongside it, they certainly have a lot more scaling and just the ability to hard force when the game gets later onto objectives, that Excel's options to respond are very, very limited if they don't get an early snowball with the Talia making roams down to the bot lane or top side. It does feel like they could honestly just be defeated very easily if you're Excel. Because that draft, it in terms of the Sedge and the Naut, technically even the Cassante, once you go in, it's very hard for them to get out. And with your main, you basically only have two main damage dealers in the Talia and Desire. If they get bursted out, it's pretty easy for Fnatic to win the fight from that point forward. The big difference between drafts is Fnatic have two supports to kind of keep their carries alive and sustain through fights. And like, you've also got Rel, hard engage. You've got technically engage with the Ivan. It's a lot more semi-committal in terms of the Ivan engage, but obviously the Rel is a very hard committal engage, similar to Nautilus. Now, we haven't talked about stats or items just yet, but there is obviously a Warden red buff from Fnatic. They're going to try and keep track of the jungle. Razork on Ivan. We saw him on this pick last week. Not last week. When we last broke down Fnatic, we saw him on the pick. And he took a path on the blue side. This is like one of the first times I'm going to properly look at an Ivan pathing on red. And if it's very similar, because it doesn't look similar so far. Because Ivan usually starts red buff side first and then wraps around into blue on blue side. So it's kind of a bit of a different start. As here, he's actually going to steal away the red buff. He's actually forcing a sort of split map. And Peach isn't gonna... Well, obviously he saw Razork make that move. They see he's got the red buff now. Peach hasn't really responded to the Razork's maneuver. I like this. He's actually used the combo pretty effectively to get all the camps. And he's gonna actually finally make a maneuver into this red buff. Obviously, Ivan has smite in 8 seconds. He could actually contest this. Though it's very, very hard to do so. This would be where, if you're Oscar running, you try to force in onto Odoamne. Because then you're going to have to try and force a play out of... Peach, but hey. Peach responds in kind, stealing away the red buff. I thought we were going to get an actual split map, and I would have really have liked that from Fnatic, because you isolate the bot lane into a matchup that's obviously more beneficial to them, I feel. Now, we haven't talked about items yet, and obviously you know me, I'm a big cult enjoyer. I love the item, and we actually see it being picked up here by Humanoid, and that's actually quite surprising, I feel. I would have expected it maybe on Kaiser to get a bit of on-hit healing, just so that she can sustain through this lane a bit better. But I get why Jace has done it. Obviously he gets the same effects that anyone would with the item. I just think that it would have been a bit more beneficial with Kaiser having one as well. She can obviously get to that static shiv a little bit quicker with this current build. And the big thing about static shiv obviously is she can clear the waves pretty quickly. She hasn't got minion demats, so this is actually a huge trade on to Trimby. Getting chunked low, force flash, but he baited Patrick on the tower. Razor can chase this down quite quickly. Cleanse, burn, yeah. Basically, flash on support for Cleanse. That's worth for Fnatic. Because Trimby has Hex Flash. Anyway. Blasting Rod. Blasting Wand, I should say. First pickup for Gwen on her back. Bit interesting, because I don't think that builds into Riftmaker. Looks like he may be going for a Nash's Toothbrush, if I'm correct. I'm actually going to look it up, because I'm not 100% sure either. Whoa, bit of lag. I wasn't paying attention. I was actually trying to Google. I'll pause this. I just want to look at the build for the item. It is a blasting one. Never mind. I don't know why I questioned it. Pretty much every big AP item has the blasting wand in it. Why am I so dumb? They really need to sort that bad away. Make less items contain blasting wand. That would be huge, because obviously they're getting rid of mythics. Whoop whoop. I think everyone's happy about that.
Here's a result from search.
Thanks, Google. I didn't even try to search for something. Wait, so Razor gets spotted on this blue ward. Limits here. So he's just waiting for Abadage to come. Hook, easy, into the Glacial Augment, into the path push. That's a really easy first blood and good setup overall for it. Razork obviously didn't have his sweeper in time, so he just gets punished for it. Good play overall from Excel to get a early lead. They need to continue to build on that one, though. That's something that we have seen them struggle to do in playoffs, in season finals, sorry. They struggled to do that against Mad because they threw several games. And Fnatic possibly looking to punish here. Flash is burnt out a limit already. He has no mana, so there's no real engage on the Fnatic side. However, Patrick gonna pick up the kill onto Trimby, whom just overstepped a little bit too much before his team could collapse in. That honestly could have been a one fight for Fnatic. The fact that you, in theory, could have ignored limit in that fight and just focus out the carries would have been probably a bit more beneficial for Fnatic to do. Instead, they get punished, and yeah, pretty much they're in a situation where they're behind 1k or 700 gold at this point. Is a rougher. Wait, I can't math. It is about... No, I can math. What am I on about? I'll shut up about that. It's about 900 gold. Is the actual gold diff. But yeah. Essentially, Excel starting to form that snowball they need. Limit. Forcing Trimby to crash down is nice. It means Peach can get into the river. Obviously, gonna sweep away the vision and kind of hover around the bot side. They want to crash this wave in, so he hovers down it, allows them to do so. He gets his reset. So does Patrick. But Razor, he's coming down here. Fnatic not going to be able to punish the XL backs. And instead, we're going to see Oscarinin trade quite heavily into Odo. Get a decent chunk down. He's going to probably queue forward in a second. There you go. And yeah, that's pretty easy trading. That's how the top lane matchup should go. It's queues from the Cassante into autos and queues from the Gwen and possibly a few E's. That's how that top lane matchup goes. It's just a sustain war. I would prefer a bit of sustain out the Gwen to deal with the Cassante, who is going to build heavily into tech. Looks like he's building a Iceborne Gauntlet as his first item. Is big old Odoamne. He likes a bit of damage with Sheen, as well as obviously the ability to kind of deal with Humanoid into later parts of the game. The reason you build Iceborne in that sense is so that you can kind of side lane against him, because Humanoid is known for being one of the sort of stronger split pushes, in the sense that it's sort of more his style over, say, playing for team fights. And we have seen throughout the years Humanoid getting caught out from those sorts of overcommittal pushes in isolation. So the fact that Odo is kind of building to deal with him kind of does set up that XLR planning for the late game, which I think is a bit of a sort of a misplay in a sense that they're playing for late, even though they get pretty much outscaled by Fnatic. And yeah, I think maybe a little bit of a build diff, but hey, he may go Divine Sundra and just go full damage and just absolutely demolish the Gwen. It's Not gonna happen, but like that could be an option with the fact that he has the Sheen picked up. Top side, Oscar Rinnin wasn't trade. Needlework does absolutely nothing as my PC just slows down in time. Flash is burnt from either side, and this is a good play overall from Bonk. Oh, he's here and smites him down. No one expected the Razork flash over the wall. That's a huge play for Fnatic to get a bit of gold down. They also are heavily punishing Odo here, if you think about it. First, you kind of have to think of the Summoner's Burn. Odo just TP'd back to top lane, and Oscarinin immediately challenged him. That's kind of a very smart thing to do, because A, that means that, hey, if he needs to reset now, he has no easy way of getting back to lane. Like now, case in point, he's walking back up to the top side of the map. What has that meant? Well, Oscarinin now has got a bit more turret plating in his back pocket. As we watch it again, essentially, Odo agreed for the turret plate. He's getting slowed down by needlework. It doesn't do that much damage, but it's when the snips come through, Gwen becomes a real menace. Now, Ivan summons Daisy, causing Odo to use his dash. Immediate control ward into brush until Smite kills off the XL top laner. What this has meant is Oscarinin's picked up a big gold lead in that top lane. He also picks up his Nash's Tooth. That's obviously the big difference in normal builds. You rush Nash's Tooth. I like it into the Cassante because, hey, you want to kind of out-trade him and get your Q procs off as quickly as possible. And the big thing you can do is you can buffer your Qs as he uses his Qs. So when he uses Q3 into you and knocks you into him, you use your Q that's fully stacked up and kind of knock him into a lot of damage. Oh, Peach, you flashed way too early, my friend. And yeah, you just get punished. While XL gets themselves in their second Drake, Fnatic starting to claw themselves into this game in a very strong way. You got your Static Shiv picked up for the Kaiser. She's going to be hard pushing bots pretty much for the rest of the game. You've also got for yourself a fully stacked up Cull on Humanoid, whom has also got his Dustblade. He's going to be able to hide and brush, fire out them Qs, and just do mass amounts of damage to Excel. Now, the response from Excel, they're going to get themselves a Kraken Slayer onto Desire, Radiant Virtue on Sedge, so there's a bit of healing and sustain in terms of output from XL now. But I dare say, if we get the nice thing that says the current combat gold at the sides of the screen, it's going to probably say that favors Fnatic heavily. As already, XL looking to make a play on this top lane. They've got 3 minions to kind of do this. They are going to force Oscarinin away as Razor coming in from the side. Crashdown's going to land onto the Nautilus, but that is going to be the Q out from the Jace. And here comes Fnatic sniping their way into this fight, just demolishing them as 2 kills to none is the result so far. As, oh, that's a nice seismic shove out from the Talia. Getting a lot of damage down with the Unraveled Earth being formed. This is just a pretty good play for XL, all things considered. However, the fact that you had such a hard commit out from them to try and make a play, you had Patrick roam up. It left in isolation Noah, and he's able to pick up the first turret of the game. We watch this again. Ivan just comes through with Daisy chucked over the wall, with Trimby being there. The Q out from Jace meant that Trimby was basically taken out of the fight early. Then, in a sort of more so isolated 1v1, you had the Gwen just killing the Cassante. And yeah, Fnatic win out across the map with that play. Oh, they've caught him. Peach, you've been caught several times this game. Pretty bad positioning overall. Just getting absolutely demolished across the rift. It looks like Fnatic have kind of researched Peach's pathing and how he's easily being punished for it. They're going to turn that kill into Harold. And they've surmounted themselves a pretty cheeky 4k gold lead for themselves. It's pretty good. They're going to probably use that to do more damage to Excel. With the fact that they can drop that in mid lane. Look to pressure for the mid lane tier 1. Because they've just killed the top lane tier 1. It's surprising me how Fnatic are playing this. The hook lands. They're going to catch out the Rel. Force the engage them. The storm comes through from her. And that just allows for the damage. As Odo going to take Oscar in and out the fight. But the damage has already been done. Excel are falling apart. And they're just being chipped away as a great call back from the feathers comes through from Patrick, but it isn't going to secure a kill. Instead, Excel give up soul point as Fnatic get onto the Ocean Drake. That overall fight was insane because it's actually Excel starting this one off. They think they've got 5 members here, and they're assuming Fnatic don't have everyone here because they see Oscar Rinnin is on a recall. They want to force either, at best, a 3v4 at this stage where everyone is positioned, because you have Patrick just off the side. You've also got Humanoid down out the way a little bit. So it would technically be a 3v4 with how everyone's positioned. They want to force it because they have more members here. And Oscar Rinnin just isn't able to make any sort of quick connection here unless he TPs. And right now, he's just backing. So, Limit gets a nice hook. Wrong target, because he wants to probably hit Razork. That's probably the most ideal person to hit with your hook. Essentially, Rel has a big shield on her. That's the easy way to word this. So she doesn't get bursted down as quick. She also gets a nice Ivan shield there. Now, once the mass amounts of wombo comboing onto Trimby happens and is done, he just goes in. Using the Magnet Storm, just jumps head first in, pulls them into him. And while he dies, you look where the TP is. You look where Fnatic are. They're collapsing pretty quickly. And you've just clumped up a lot of members who are taking quite a lot of damage from the poke. From the shock blast from Jace. Who's now... Can I just watch this land? Gets in. It's a nice bit of damage onto Noah and Razork. But Oscar Rinnin's here. He's already used his W. Because he's expected like a seismic shove instantly. He doesn't get that onto him, and instead, he just gets a snip away at Limit's health bar. Odo's like, well, I need to do something here to kind of protect my team. Drags him out with the all-out. But the damage has been done to Limit. And to Peach. Hook lands, it doesn't really matter. The Humanoid gets the kill onto Naught. Pretty simple overall there. It's a good play overall. This side, a root has happened. It's presumably from the Ivan Q. And yeah, little bits of dash. Yeah, that was definitely an Ivan Q. Burns summoners. I believe that's a Mikhail's. Might not be. But gets a lot of things out from Patrick. This is where Fnatic are like, okay, we have the advantage here. We've got more summoners. We've got more ultimates. We can go in and force a play. So, surprisingly, that one W on Abadage allows Noah in. Essentially, he comes in from side, forces flashes out from Abadage, and now you look at this play. While, yeah, the health bars on Noah and Humanoid have a bit of damage done into them, he's still got this looming threat. Who's just forcing Patrick away, snipping his way through the health bar. It's a good overall pullback with the feathers. And that's kind of what, if you think about it, Abadage, he's either A, sees how much damage has been done to Fnatic here and looking to clean up the fight, or B, he's trying to protect Patrick. I'm thinking it's more towards the latter. Well, the first point, considering the fact Abadage went forward with the wall and took it with it, he's thinking, I can kill off these two. Probably mainly Humanoid is the target he wants to kill. But that's his mindset here. And I think it's a good mindset to have, considering you've got a early game comp and it's fallen behind heavily, so you kind of need to make these sorts of drastic plays to keep yourself in the game. You've now just lost Soul Point that you were looking for. If you got Soul Point, you definitely would have forced a early-ish game fight on the Soul. But now, Fnatic have bought themselves 5 minutes. And with how this game has gone, they're going to continue to push the pressure onto Excel. And that's a big thing you have to think about here, is the fact that A, Oscarinin, he's got a lot of gold. He did very big amounts of damage in that last fight. So did Humanoid. And now they're getting to reap some more reward as this mid lane tier 1's going to fall. Gold into 4 members of Fnatic for that one. And Abadage just getting chunked out by the Void Seekers. This is the issue if you are Excel. You're dealing with an AP Kaiser who's just stacking up the W damage. It's such a dumb ability in terms of how much it can output. And right now, there's no real response, as that is a bit of miscommunication or disjointedness. Like, you're trying to go in. So, you baited Oscarinin on the tower, but, like, Sedge is being bullied by Daisy. The ult hits from Peach. In fact, it's a very good ult. However, the big issue is Fnatic are grouped as 5. Excel aren't all around this tier 2 tower. It's only 3 members in the front line here, ready to make a play. Odo tries to go in onto the Jace with the Q. He's not the right person to be doing this, by the way. Limit does have flash, so he could technically have gone in and flash Q'd. That would have been probably the most ideal sort of fight engager. But instead, Humanoid just walks it out pretty easily. It's not that threatening to Fnatic, so they get away with that sort of overstep into the tier 2. They're now going to pressure in this mid lane. And bot side, they're kind of not worried about it. They should realistically have someone sent bot which I think Oscar and him may look to do in a couple of seconds, just because objective bounties are now a big thing, and I thought they were on for Fnatic. I think they've actually fallen off. But they're going to get themselves a bot lane tier 1 here pretty easily if Abadage stayed. But obviously he now knows, or he expects someone from Excel to be responding to what he was doing. The wave was obviously crashing for quite some time if you're looking at it from that perspective. But hey, Fnatic just going to quite easily reset bot side, get a bit of pressure themselves with Humanoid hanging around here. It means that Talia can't play up in lane because there's no turret protecting her behind. And with now Fnatic disappearing into this bottom jungle, you kind of see him. It forces Abadage to back, reset so you can get some safety. And that means the wave gets pushed all the way to the tier 2 in the bot lane. Fnatic overall playing the map quite well to get pressure forced onto the side. It's something you don't tend to see too often, but Fnatic using their comp to kind of bully their way into the enemy jungle. And it means that things like this, where they're leashing away the camp from Peach, keeps the jungle gap slightly more in favor of Fnatic. If you think about it, you look at the CSD difference between the junglers, Peach is up. But because Razork has been able to kind of put pressure onto Fnatic, his limit gets hooked up by the Q from the Ivan. Needlework going to come through from the Gwen, but she's pulled out with the all out as a re-engage coming through from Trimby is just so clean. It locks down the carries of Excel. There's no hope for them anymore as their damage is naught. And that being 22 minutes on the clock, it certainly means the Baron is in the sights of Fnatic. Honestly, that fight was decided by Trimby. Simply put, that engage catching out both the Xayah and the Talia. That's all we're watching for here. Just keep your eyes on the level 9 Rel. Frontlining gets ignited, stuns up Peach, but the fact is, all the damage been done by Excel are onto the front line of Trimby. He don't care about that. He just play engage and get onto the juicy targets, which, look, here, they're still grouped up. They're staying on top of each other. Great shock blast out from a Humanoid there, forcing Abadage back. The all out comes through, and it's a bad ultimate because you're pulling in a Gwen into your entire backline. Who just dashes away. But the big issue is Fnatic now have their choice in terms of where they go with their engage. Their frontliner who engages has just been brought to the backline. So, whoop! He immediately starts killing off Odo. But like Patrick and Abba. Patrick forced Walt and Flash. Just look at Trimby. Magnet Storm immediately into Crashdown. He perfectly places it so that as the Feather Storm ends, he's just killing them. That's just clean. And it just means Noah gets an easy kill onto Abba. And the follow-up damage just comes through. Razork's also playing really smart here. He's a support. He doesn't need to be in the front line to affect the fight. He's just staying back, putting his shield on people, dropping brushes if needs be, and just absolutely smurfing this fight without being technically involved. He now comes over flashing just so that the kill gets secured. And the big thing is, the reason he flashed for that kill specifically is it's the jungler of Excel. It means that there's no sort of contest for the Baron. So Excel have to give up that objective. Fnatic, off of that Baron, sit right now at a 1.5k gold lead from this pure buff. And they're going to turn that into the second Drake for themselves. Guess what? Who cares about Ocean Soul? Not me. You're going to have to go another 10 minutes before either team gets that. At least, I should say. This game, we said at the start, early game, Excel needed to snowball, otherwise it was over. They failed to do so. Fnatic now have firm control of this game. There's not much more needs to be said than this is how the comp works. You use darkness, formed by Ivan brushes, formed by just controlling the map. You throw out shock blasts, you throw out the void seekers, and they chunk away at your health bar. We started to see it here. There's 5 members of Excel down here, and they're still losing on sides. They've got no one to match. And I think that's partially down to how they drafted. They've drafted a comp that can't really respond or reciprocate the damage Fnatic can, while also having that strong engage. This is probably the best engage that they've done in this entire game, purely because they actually went in off the schedule with a good hook. Problem for them is Humanoid just fired a shock blast into Abadage and Patrick, so their health bars are non-existent here. The engage comes through from Daisy just walking forward, and that's Peach chunked very low. Needlework, bit of a whiff, honestly. If you threw him, where is he? Threw him there, you might even tag 3 members. You would have done a lot more damage. But, yeah. Limit now forced into a situation where he has to protect his jungler by frontline for him. But just the fact that the Void Seekers keep getting thrown out because they keep tagging people just is a nightmare for anyone. Because they do so much damage on such a low cooldown if they hit. Now I am starting to see a fight begin. I think the important thing to note is the position. It's the throw tower where Barons have killed off their own team's hopes of winning a game. It's the exact same fire. Oh god. But Talia ult comes through. It's a good sectioning one because Noah isolated. And so they go in on top of the Ivan. No more heals, no more shields for Fnatic. How are they going to deal with the Gwen? Because that's the big threat. And it looks like, pretty easily, 2 members of Fnatic killed off here. Noah being forced to flash. W, those are still doing a lot of damage. In fact, he's trying to tack onto Odoamne. Burn him out while he's in his all out. Excel with finally getting their way back into the game. It was a good play overall. Great use of the Weaver's Wall from Abadage. Sectioning off the members of Fnatic very well. You lock Noah out of fight. You force a flash as well from Humanoid. It's just overall a very good play to kind of stop some of the bleed that they're experiencing. And when I say stop, I don't mean fully stop, because they are technically still seeping out the red juices of juiciness. Because Fnatic still have push. They're going to continue to have push for the rest of the game. It feels like, because that static shiv just does so much work. Clearing out waves, I apologize for my tiredness. This is looking like a fight. Is just a couple of miscues come through from either side. They certainly want to scrap here. Ivan just being a menace. Drops Daisy. Allows some more vision control over this brush. They can continue to siege into the bot lane. It's a bad idea to continue this after you just lost a fight. Honestly, you need someone on a flank patrol to not allow Abadage a route in. They are actually just going to back away, though. And we go from there. Mid lane getting forced and pushed out by Fnatic. And I think they're just kind of waiting now for the Drake and for Baron. Because if you get Drake, you can turn it into Baron pretty easily. Or you just send one member down there, start it up, and do the Baron at the same time. That would be the other idea in my head that's circulating. But who cares? Let's discuss items. What stands out to me? Proto Belt for the Gwen is a bit more surprising to me. I'm very surprised actually by seeing that. Don't make much sense. I mean, it makes sense that she wants to get in and do work because, let's be honest, she is kind of the main person on Fnatic to do that. However, what I will say is, I would have preferred Riftmaker, solely because you can then sustain through what the Talia and Desire do. Drake number 3, or Soul Point, has been picked up here for Fnatic. Actually, let me think about this a bit more. So I'm pausing here. Fnatic have 3 Ocean Drakes. If they get their 4th, it's 4 Ocean Drake, Ocean Soul. That sounds very, very good. And personally, if we think about it, I believe that's a deciding factor as to why he's gone Proto Belt over Riftmaker. Because he already gets sustain and resistance that's from Ocean Soul. So I think this is a bit of adapting on the fly from Oscarinin to kind of deal with what Fnatic want to do, as well as what Excel are doing to avoid that. Now, Baron number 2 is on the docket. We've got the Weaver's Wall being used to section Razork away from the pit. Trimby also kept out, but Fnatic are in. Health bars are deleted as the Gwen gets a double kill for herself. The Baron is going to be secured by Excel, but it does mean that they're going to lose 4 members. Will it be 5 as a triple kill goes over to the Gwen? Make it a quadra kill as Fnatic are looking to end out this game in a pretty dominant fashion. Oscarinin, take a bow, son, as you just clutched up that fight. And in fact, pretty much every fight this game so far, he kind of has had a massive impact on it. Baron is not going to be needed to beat this Excel squad. Oh, and there's the pentakill for the top laner. He's going to pick that one up for himself. That's just a clean way to end the game as Fnatic take the first of the series. We said Excel were on a timer. We said that from minute one. That Excel kind of had to do something early to get themselves any form of control in this game. They got a little lead. It wasn't enough. It was only a 1k gold lead. And then it just got absolutely dismantled by Fnatic. And personally, they need to do more. Maybe game 2 will be where we see that shift. Here we go. Game 2, we'll also mute that. Also, Excel were on blue side for that game. Perhaps we see... No, we don't see him switch to red side. Obviously, not the strongest of sides is red. But you would get more counter pick options. And considering how Excel drafted, I think they need that possibility. As the same ban's coming through from either side. I don't remember the last ban. They're actually going to remove the Xayah here, Kaiser. Kaiser? Excel. I have Kaiser on the brain. I think that it's such a powerful pick. Excel maybe looking to lock in the lock in the Rel for themselves. I would prefer that. They actually dropped the Poppy ban for a Xayah ban. Do you think they lock Poppy in second rotation? Because they removed that ban for themselves. It means that they can kind of deal with some other picks. They are going to lock in the Rel. I think Fnatic going to go with the Jace combo again. It still works. Ornn's also up and available still. That was a second rotation ban, I believe, by Excel. So...
Sorry, I don't know that one.
Wasn't even talking to you, but geez, that's both my devices that have voice recognition gone off today. Insane. Fnatic gonna lock in exactly the same thing as we saw in game number 1. If it ain't broke, don't fix. Don't need fixing. Meanwhile, Excel changing up their draft entirely. Obviously, Fnatic are going to have to make changes with the Rel going over to Excel. But that is a pretty powerful combo. Surprised the Zeri is locked in here for Patrick. Because, hey, this guy can play a lot of different champs. The fact that you're locking him in Xayah, not Xayah. Yeah, if you're locking him Xayah and Zeri early in the draft, it's kind of surprising overall to me. I definitely think you could have probably have left them to later on as a whole. But hey, Fnatic, because the Rel come through, they lock in this Alistar. They can go for the combo. That's something XL forgot to respect. Because in game 1, Fnatic actually were able to ban out the Alistar in second rotation. Because XL didn't lock it in until... Well, they didn't ban it. Sorry. Yeah, no, they didn't pick it up. What am I on about? My head's just gone blur. I've been so tired this weekend. I've just been walking around trying to get home. That was the fun of it. But hey, draft coming through, second rotation. Talia going to be removed. Obviously, Abadalge did have a little bit of an impact with the pick. Obviously, getting a couple of good fights for Excel. However, it's warranted a ban after that one game. Poppy going to be removed from Excel. They're still going to remove it from Oscar Renan's hands, and technically Ray's Orcs if he wanted to flex it into there if the Ivan was not picked up. Azir also removed. On, still up and available as a ban. Excel did that in game number 1. Possibly could be locked in here. You have technically also got the option, if you're Fnatic, to go for a Gwen again. Still a decent option if you can get onto the Zeri. However, it's a lot harder of a job. Instead, they're just going to lock in the Kaiser. Same as game 1. It worked wonders for them. And now you've got Static Shiv versus Static Shiv. That bot lane's going to be slightly more even if you think about it for Excel. They're going to lock in the Ahri. Give a bit of facilitation to Abadage once more. Because that pick, while can do a lot of damage, really has the ability to set up the fights for the team with the charms and do work like that. We talked about in game number 1 the possibilities of Oscar Renan's pool of champions. I was looking at the Jax and thinking he would play that into that. It's the sort of pick he would go for. But instead, Cassandra comes through into Nah. I mean, it's alright, I guess. It's not the best of matchups. But I think this is going to be a slightly more even game compared to game number 1. You've got a lot more options on Excel's side to engage. You've also got harassment from the Nah with the boomerangs. You've also got the threat of an Ahri charm coming over the wall and locking you down. It's a lot more threatening, I feel, this Excel comp to game 1, comparative to game 1. And I think we're probably going to see a closer result than what we got in game 1. Regardless of that, we should probably talk about draft expectations for this game in terms of how both team comps want to play. It's not much different from game number 1 for Fnatic. You've got the same sort of poke and harassment they had in game 1 with the Jace's Shock Blasts and the Void Seekers. You do, however, have a different form of engage with the fact that you have now the ability to utilize the Alistar in a defensive mechanism to the Rel, or an offensive one onto the Zeri or the Ahri. Honestly, it's whichever you would prefer, and that, in my opinion, is a good thing. Now, already, we are seeing an adaptation from game number 1. Obviously, Excel had a little bit of a hard commit into this top side jungle to get vision for Peach. He only made it to here and got a ward. There. Not the best ward overall, but it's still a ward. And Fnatic want to deny it. The fact that Trimby has Sweeper right now means that they're expecting someone from Excel to come up, place a ward here, and then walk away. But they actually going to land the Q onto it. That's also the engage. This gives me a reason to move my camera, but what? That was such a weird engage. A, the engage is blind, so they don't know where XL are. 2, ADCs are here, so they're not a factor. 2. Why take it? It seems dumb. Razork and Oscarinin go in. Oscarinen's smart though, and walks away. But it's just a great flash out from Limit to lock up the right target. I believe he dismounted in prep. Like, just watch. I'm just gonna watch Limit. He dismounts over the wall. So yeah, he's waiting for this. He wants to go for a fight and lock up the single target. So the fact that Fnatic give him that. The issue is though, he's resetting. So he stops his back. Immediate remount, flash into Glacial Augment. Yeah, that's just overall bit of a misplay from Fnatic to give over first blood. And yeah, that does mean that Excel get a better start. 500 gold lead already. Taking stock of items, you've got a cull in the Zeri's back pocket. You knew I was going to target it first. It's a big item. It means that she's able to kind of reach the power spike first in terms of the static shiv and kind of get maybe a couple of waves extra into the tower denied from Noah because of it. But Razor going to begin his clear using the very intricate Ivan pathing that you can do. I dare say we may see the same cheese play where he invades into the red buff once again. However, he did have vision last time of the buff, so he knew he can make the play for it. This time he doesn't have that, so he's going to make the more standardized approach to jungling. Now, obviously, Excel kind of knew about the play last time, but they know it's not happened this time. They actually had a ward in place to see if Razork will go for that play. He has not, and instead, it's just going to be a nice, normal jungling path from both sides. Top side, Odo's going to be in a lead because he got first blood to no fault of Oscarinen's. But yeah, this is where Excel should feel comfortable. They managed to get themselves first blood. Last game, there was a timer on them. This game, not so much. It's a little less. They're a bit more flexible with what they can do. So the timer isn't really a factor in this one. But hey, just looking at the two teams right now, after game one, you certainly have to favor Fnatic, who just dismantled XL once the game got late. And while yes, I've just said the same thing isn't really as impactful, Fnatic still can't just let this game get to late without any form of play, because they need to do something to kind of get themselves into this one. And I think the biggest issue for Fnatic is game one, Odoamne was subdued by Oscarinin. And in game two, a play going to come out. Charm lands onto the Jace, but he's being taken quite low from the Qs, but it is going to result in a kill over to Fnatic, as Razork is able to pick that one up for his team. Honestly, a good punish. Force sums as well. That works out very nicely for Fnatic, as Humanoid gets to get a cheeky recall off. Probably will TP back to lane, and should get all of the next wave that is hitting his tower. Also, I'm intrigued. Dark Seal pickup for the Ivan. I mean, I get it. You need damage. It's bot side. That's just going to be a 2v2 kill over to Fnatic. That gold swing has come back in favor of the orange squad. That's big. You think about it, a 2v2 kill is huge. In isolation as well. It just seemed so greedy from Limit. Something we actually said quite a bit during their last series against Mad. As mid. Oh, Abadage gets the kill onto Humanoid. This game's a lot more scrappier than what we saw in the first. I like it. I like it a lot. Now, this is something I've seen quite a bit from Excel during the previous series we broke down. It was a heavy focus on the Drakes. They've done it every single game now, and I think teams are starting to try to punish it, as we just saw there. Fnatic tried to make a play, but are unable to. And, I dare say, we'll probably see more of these sorts of plays from Excel. As I'm actually just gonna disappear my face so I can get a better position. We'll go this way. So, Fnatic as a whole, right now, are in a bit of a weird situation if you look at this game. As I'm knocking stuff over. Good job, me. Because while their bot lane has an advantage and their jungle has an advantage, granted only slight, the rest of the map is kind of losing for them. Mid, there's a gold lead over to Abadage. Top, there's a gold lead over to Odoamne. And there's slightly higher amounts of gold in favor of Excel. So, as a whole, while combat items probably are relatively the same, Excel have slight leads that will allow them to be more impactful on the map. And that should, in theory, mean that Herald, where we should see both teams go, Abadage caught out, going to be not locked up by the Ivan Q, is going to walk himself away thanks to the Spirit Rush. In fact, he's going in onto Humanoid, chunking down the Jace with a decent amount of damage. He is, however, just going to heal that back up. As Sedgel going to be flashed away as a re-engage comes out from Fnatic, but uh-oh, down goes the Alistar as Rel gets him locked in place for Zeri to get the kill. As trading between Noah and Patrick is going to force the Fnatic ADC back as more continuation of the play as Sedge just tries to steal away camps. Is going to be denied that, however, and Fnatic, they lose out on that play heavily, and the gold has swung even more in favor of Excel. Basically, this looks like Fnatic trying to start a 3v2 onto bot lane isn't going to result in that. Instead, it's a 3v3, and Fnatic just can't really respond. Ivan hadn't got Daisy, used most of his his abilities to do the initial engage. It just seemed flat, like a very flat play from Fnatic, and they lose out quite heavily. We already started to say that this game, Fnatic can't rely on just waiting it out, because Excel have a lot more of a proactive squad that can survive into late game fights very easily with the Zeri combination with the Rel. It's just not that good for Fnatic, this one. They've been outdrafted here in some regards. They do have the counters though to maybe come alive into the late game, but that is a maybe and a half, as Zeri already has the static shiv built up. These waves are going to start to crash into Fnatic's tower, as Zeri should be easily able to continue to harass him and push down into Noah's face. So, taking stock of the game, we've got 7 seconds until the second Drake is up and available on the map. Obviously, Herald has been picked up by Excel, so they should in theory look to drop that bad boy down to get themselves pressure onto this Drake. However, I dare say they may not even need to do that, as Peach snuck in to the bot lane jungle, as XL just setting up the dive. Magnet Storm comes immediately out. Killer Instinct gets Noah back to safety, but the damage has been done to Limit's health bar, who tanked up the tower. Zeri is staying around, trying to use the extra damage from her ultimate to push back Fnatic, as the shocks from the Qs just ring through the minions and onto the health bars of Fnatic. While it's not going to result in any kills for the XL squad, they are going to turn it over into their second Drake. Something they've been able to do in every game so far is get themselves the first 2 Drakes. And with Soul once again being an Ocean Dragon variant, you gotta feel that XL in this situation, with a bit more of an engagey frontline that can be bulky and deal with Fnatic, they are gonna love this Dragon Soul if they're able to get it. Big thing that's different to Game 1 is, Game 1 we saw Noah just split pushing as the Herald was taken to get himself the first Drake of the game, tower of the game. This time, it's going to be Patrick picking that one up for himself without necessarily needing to go for a cross map on XL side of the Rift, as Charm going to land onto the Alistar, who is going to immediately engage onto Abadage, but this fight is not a good one for XL up until now, as it is turning into a full-blown 5v5 as the engage is huge from Odoamne, getting a massive Gnar coming out and forward. Fnatic going to trade it back onto Abadage, but the damage has been done. Zeri is here, and she is shooting her way through the health bars of Fnatic, and down goes Razork as the last casualty of the fight. It's an ace to XL, who demolish Fnatic on the Rift. This is much more like the team that made it to Summer Finals. Absolutely clinical in the fights. As we watch this again, it's just Fnatic thinking they collapse quicker, and while they do, they are just not able to get onto this XL squad, as a lovely 4-man Gnar comes through, just demolishes the health bars of Fnatic. When that comes through, this fight is over. And while Oscarin tries to do what he can to get another kill to Fnatic, it is not enough. And instead, the entire squad just gets ran down and deleted from the Rift. Now, big things to note was, it was kind of a nothing fight if you think about it. There was no real objectives to play for. Instead, Fnatic are going to try and catch out. Limit once again, not going to be able to do so. That would have still been a nothing fight, but maybe they could have turned it into Herald. So both teams starting to move up to this top side of the map. And the game is starting to come alive. Once again, we've got 13 kills. This is a hell of a lot more than what we saw in game number 1. The teams are starting to feel themselves clearly. As Razork gonna... Not Razork. As Humanoid's gonna steal away that Grump for himself. He needs the money, obviously. Let's take a stock check on the items for each team. Gonna see mythics across the board except for support. That's huge as a whole. Still seeing Iceborne Gauntlet picked up first for Cassante. This game, obviously, he's going to try to use that to get on top of. The Zari going to really need it because she is not a target that's easy to get on top of as the fighting begins. Magnetstorm's going to be popped out to try and keep the Alistar interested, but Sedge is gonna land the ultimate onto the Humanoid. He is unable to do anything. Killer Instinct from behind. Kaiser isolates herself into a triple kill from Patrick, looking to make it more. Flashing forward, the quadra kill. Not gonna get the penta. We were oh so close to a second one in this series. That would have been huge. Instead, Excel turned their sights to the mid lane tier 1 and the Herald to boot. This game is pretty much over as Fnatic have crumbled. It's not the same as what we saw in game 1. The firm control that they had. They're just panicking and getting punished heavily for it. As this fight initially looks good for them, they get a target isolated, but they just don't have the damage. As Humanoid gets in way too late and he isolates himself. And the same could be said for Noah. He goes in isolated and he just gives the triple over to the Zeri just like that. The 4th kill comes through, and while you could definitely see Patrick dive in the tower to get the penta, it isn't gonna happen. Instead, he just walks away with a quadra and a lot more objectives to boot. Excel this time will make it to Soul Point. 5 minutes from now, we should see a massive brawl around the Drake Pit. If the game goes that long, Herald gonna be dropped down here as well. They're just gonna look to continue to build this momentum. The snowball is formed. Excel trying to pressure into the base of Fnatic. Herald will crash once again. And now you have to think about game 3. Because we've seen a small adaptation from Excel has really meant that they're able to deal with what Fnatic want to do. And you kind of have to think it revolves around Durrell. This champion really should be looking to be thrown onto the ban list by whomever is on red side. And we already discussed in game number 1 the bans from Excel who are on blue could realistically fit a Rel into him instead of, say, the Poppy or Desire in game number 2. But yeah, we are certainly seeing some life out of Excel in this game. His 3 items have been picked up for Patrick Zeri. Bloodthirster is one of them, so he's going to be pretty bulky in terms of sustaining through fights. Going to be able to kind of keep himself alive a little bit longer. And that's actually a huge item diff. He's a full item up on Noah. And we just look at the gold graphs. Noah is nowhere near him. That's a 4k gold lead in the bot lane itself. That just means that the Bloodthirster is the big diffy. And that is mega in terms of what can be outputted by this Excel squad. And you have to think they're going to look to try and push the tempo while they have this massive item advantage. You have to think as Odo could be collapsed on it. Isn't going to overstep, however. He just backs himself away. 20 minutes are finally on the clock, and Baron is the call for Excel. Starting this one up, Fnatic sensing something out here are going to spot it being kicked off. Looking to pressure themselves in. Spotting out limit, keeping the rel away. That's the goal, but he's unable to do instead. Humanoid is forced to flash. TP is going to come through from Oscar Rinin. He gets in and he's immediately forced out. TP wasted. Daisy wasted. Segel wasted. What more can be wasted by these two teams? A lot of big sums burnt as the Ivan Q lands. They go in and shut down Patrick. He is unable to participate in this fight, and they're going to continue forward. Alistar's going to knock in Abadage, trying to get the kill as another one goes over to this Kaiser. Fnatic back into this game, you have to feel, after this one fight. Another Alistar headbutt pulverize combo lands. They're getting Odo's life and a shutdown to boot as Baron once again becomes the priority for Fnatic. Abadage gonna land the charm onto the Cassante, knocking in the Sedge into the pit. They're looking to burst him out. All out comes through from Oscar Rinin, keeping the Sedge away from the Baron. It's gonna be secured for Fnatic, and they're gonna get themselves out of here. Maybe. As the re-engage comes through, Patrick, he's here, he's got Noah. He's gonna get definitely a double kill. Will the triple come through as the health bars on Fnatic are incredibly low? Humanoid's gonna show up. He's next in the sight as the Magnet Storm comes through, pulling in the targets. It's gonna be a wipe as Fnatic all die. All you had to do was back. And instead, they get greedy and get punished. Fnatic. Oh my days. You had Baron. You could have had the denial of soul. Instead, you walk away with nothing and a massive mountain to climb now, as Ocean Soul gonna be secured here by Odawamne. This game, you had glimpses of hope. We're gonna go straight into it. So, yeah. Oh, boy. This fight. So long. Let's be honest. It's a great cue from Ivan. You get it onto the ADC. The big 4.5k gold lead we were just discussing in favor of Excel. When that's gone, the fight becomes a lot more even. And it's certainly noticeable. So you immediately throw everyone in. Headbutt, pulve, combo. Dead to Humanoid, bring the hammer down. Rel gets isolated. That's basically the story of the fight, is when Zeri there, no damage for Excel. That's all we're going to see. Wow, that's such a bad replay. Anyway. Fnatic. Back on the back foot. Gonna have to deal with the Excel pressure that they've mounted for themselves. Ocean Soul also sitting on Excel, so they can make these cheeky little plays forward, chunk out members, heal up the damage that they take themselves, as Odo coming in from the side, possibly look for a Gnar. Rel gonna be knocked into the air, denied an engage. But it is still, however, gonna be mid lane tier 2 falling in favor of Excel. Once again, Odo being jumped on, forced to fight as Oscar Rinnin goes way too far forward, gets killed off in the process. Fnatic possibly looking to engage as they catch out Abadage. However, he is still alive. Instead, it's gonna be Trimby falling to limit. This game looks well and truly over now. One by one, Fnatic are falling, and their base is going alongside them. Down goes the first Nexus tower. Peach, looking to get onto Humanoid, is going to be knocked down into the wall by Odoamne. And that is another big kill. The damage is limited now from Fnatic. Respawns are going to come in from Oscar Rinnin, but they're looking to end the game here. Excel already killing off the Nexus tower. They don't care if their tanks will die. The Nexus is the primarily focus. It was until now, as they're just getting a double kill for themselves to round out game number 2. And taking us to a third. We know it's going 5, ladies and gentlemen. We know it's going 5 after a pretty brutal turnaround. One stomp into next. Hopefully, we see something different from the drafts we've seen in game 1 and 2. I think we will if the Rel gets banned. That's